access modifiers. Okay, so whatever you are seeing over, that is private, is one of my access modifier, public is one of my access modifier. Okay, and what else we saw? Private, public. Okay, so till now we saw only these two work keywords, basically private and public. Okay, and so till now you are clear that okay, if I say it is a my anything as a public, it is going to accessible everywhere, that is within the class. Right now, within the class means within this encapsulation demo class. Okay, or let me create new class itself. Okay, class. So access modifiers in Java is basically used to define the scope of the fields or methods or constructors or the class, right? So we can use the access modifiers like private, public, protected, and default on all these four things. Fields, when I say field, that means your variables, methods, constructors, and classes. Okay, so there are these four different types of access modifiers. So the very first thing I'll go to last, which says public. So the access level of public modifier is everywhere. It can be accessed from within the class, outside the class, within the package, outside the package. So it's like, okay, this access, so I have created some public variable over here. Now if I want to access this specific variable, so I can access it within the class. Perfect. I can access this specific variable in some other classes within this more Java concept, that is within the same package. I can use it by creating the object of this class. Yes, I can do. Whereas I can as well, yeah, I can access this specific variable in other packages as well, anywhere within the project, right? So since this is public, by creating the object of this specific class, I can be able to access it anywhere within my project. Right, so that's what public is. You can access it anywhere within the uh, project with the help of object creation of this specific class where it belongs to. That's what public is. Now let's go to the private one, which we already again know. Private, the access level of private modifier is only within the class, right? So we saw in encapsulation demo, right? So if I'm making it as a private, its access level is limited to class only. Within this class only I can access, and to deal with the data I have created getters and setters, right? Because I cannot access this now I cannot access this age integer or name string from outside of this specific class, right? Because they are private. So when it is private, they are private to the class. No one can access it from outside. Now there are two more default. Okay, so the access level of default modifier is only within the package. If you do not specify any access level, by default it will be default, right? So if you simply write int this, then it is going to be default access modifier, right? Default variable, and whose access will be limited to only within the class, within the package, sorry, yeah, within the package. And finally we have something called as protected. Okay, so protected, the access level of protected access modifier is within the package and outside the package through child class. Okay, so this protected is basically we use it when we talk about inheritance. Okay, so what it says is the access level is within the package only, and if you want to access it in some other packages, then you can access it. But yes, if you are extending that specific class, then only you can access it. Okay, and now I have drafted the same thing into some tabular format. Okay, so let's start from private one. So if you see the access modifier private, okay, which can be accessed only within the class. So within the class it is yes, within package no, outside the package by subclass only no, outside the package no, right? So private means within the class. Okay, so these things we need to remember, and I feel it's very easy. So private and public we already know. Private is only within the class, and public is anywhere within your project, right? Within the class, within package, outside package, anywhere we can use public. Private is within the class. Now the question is for two, default and protected. Okay, so default can be so default is when you do not specify any access specifier, access modifier, then it will be default, right? And when it is default, it is limited to only within the package, within the class. So within package, that means yes, within the class and within the package, right? And protected is same as default, but if you are extending that specific class, then it can be used outside the package as well. But you need to have the inheritance concept over there. In subclass only we can extend it, right? So these access modifier works. Okay, so I'll show you one quick demo about this protected one, okay, because others look pretty easy. So what I'll do is I'll move this inheritance demo one. Okay, so I'll simply copy this inheritance demo one class into this automation practice class, because it will go into some other package, right? Because I want something in other package, and let me rename this class. So how to rename this class? Right click on it and you will find some option called as refactor. Okay, and go to refactor and then click on name, and here I'll call it as inheritance demo underscore 11, something like that. Okay, and I'll click on finish. Okay, now okay, now what I want to do is, now I have this inheritance demo 11 class, and from this inheritance demo 11 class I want to use this variable called as var. Okay, so I want to use it in this access modifier demo. So how I can use it? Let me try creating object of this class, which is inheritance demo 11, and both classes belongs to different packages. Okay, let me create main method, and inheritance demo 11 in1 is equal to new inheritance demo 11. Sorry, I should be using inheritance demo 11. And now it asks me to import that specific class. Yes, I have imported. And now if I try something like in1 dot var. Okay, so if I try something like in1, so can you see I am able to access now methods which are final, okay, and final m1, m2, and sm1. Okay, so I'm able to access these three methods. Okay, what are these methods? So if you see, I'm able to access sm1, which is public. I'm able to access final m1, which is public, right? And what was there? There were three. Final m1, m2 I'm able to access, and sm1. So we saw sm1 is public, final m1 is public, and what was m2? Yeah, so m2 as well was public, right? But didn't I notice m1 anywhere, right? I don't see m1 anywhere. Why I don't see m1? I see only final m1 and sm1, but I don't see m1 method. Why? Because I didn't specified any access modifier to method m1, right? And if I do not specify any access modifier to method m1, it is going to be a default. And you know that the scope of default could be method, variable, class, and constructor. The scope of default is only within the package, right? Within the class and within the package, right? But here my method was default, and both classes where I'm trying to access them belongs to different package, right? And if it is default, then outside the package is not allowed, right? So I'm not able to access this method m1 because it doesn't have any access modifier. That means it has a default access modifier. It is now okay, now I want to access this variable called as var over here, and I don't see this variable I'm able to access. Why? Because again I didn't specify any access modifier over here. Okay, and if I make something it as okay, public int variable, okay, as a 10, now I should be able to get var over here. Can you see? Now I am able to access the variable because I made the variable as a public, where it was, yeah, I made it as a public, right? And now if I make it as a private, I won't be able to access it, right? So if I check now, so now I don't see any suggestion, and if I simply type, it should give me some suggestion. It says the field inheritance demo was not the field is not visible basically because it is private, right? And see, can you see what suggestion it is giving us? Create getters and setters for this var, right? Because it is a private, and to access the private variables, we should create getters and setters, and we should access them via getters and setters, right? So I cannot make it as a private, right? So finally I'll make it as a protected. Okay, I made it as a protected, and now let me check if I'm able to access it. Okay, so still I'm not able to access, and can you see it is saying change the visibility to public or use getters and setters, right? So I have changed its access to protected, right? And what our table says, for protected within class I can access, within package I can access, but my both classes are within different package, right? Now outside the package is not accessible directly. In the last column you see no, but outside the package by subclass is accessible. All right, so that means I should extend this specific inheritance demo 1 here. Okay, and sorry, I did it in the wrong place. Okay, and like here as well, how I will be able to access it? If I create a object of this access modifiers demo, ACC is equal to new access modifiers demo. Okay, and if I do acc dot, now I should be able to access var using this specific yeah, so now I am able to access, right, by creating the object of this specific class, because I am extending the inheritance demo 1 now. Even though this var is protected, okay, even though if it is protected, I am able to access it because I am using it in my subclass, right, or a child class. Whereas this inheritance demo 1 is my parent class and this is my subclass, so in subclass I'm able to use it because protected are accessible outside the package as well if it is having child parent relationship.